The Retirement Cafe Podcast, episode 97, Living into the Fullness of Life with Katrina Moss.
Retired or thinking about retirement? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Retirement Cafe Podcast. In each episode, we bring you an important conversation with insight, tips and knowledge, all designed to help you live a fulfilling and successful life in retirement. Here's your host, Chartered Financial Planner and accredited later life advisor, Justin King.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Retirement Cafe Podcast, which is sponsored by My Financial Planner. Not knowing when you can afford to retire or what your pensions will provide can be worrying. My Financial Planner provides independent, fixed-fee retirement planning advice, bringing clarity to your financial future. At My Financial Planner, we build a financial plan for your retirement and give you the knowledge to implement the plan. Find out more about getting a plan to fund the retirement you really want at myfinancialplanner.co.uk. Today, I would like to introduce you to a friend and client of mine, Katrina Moss, in the first of our series entitled The Story of Their Lives. Katrina has had a really varied career, both working for other people and for herself. She is a serial entrepreneur, creating 4 businesses of her own over the years in completely different sectors. Katrina shares the story of her life with a focus on the last decade, which was far from a gentle transition into semi-retirement. She faced many challenges, including moving house after 30 years in the same home, caring for her terminally ill mum, and subsequently sorting out her complex financial affairs, and founding her latest venture, the UK's biggest art competition exploring spirituality. Katrina shares her ethos of living into the fullness of all that life has to offer. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Katrina Moss as much as I did. So, welcome to the podcast, Katrina Moss.
Well, thank you very much, Justin.
Now, Katrina, we've known each other for a few years, and you're a great client of mine, and we've got to know each other. And you've got quite a personal story about lots of things you get involved in. And so, for the listeners, tell me a little bit about who you are and kind of what your story is.
Well, I'm probably one of these people that I don't want to get to my end days and think, I wish I'd done that. So I've actually done everything. So if I've ever thought, I'd like to have a go at that, I've had a go.
Brilliant.
So I've done a lot of different things career-wise.
Yeah. Tell me what. Give me some ideas. So I'll have to tell the listeners that they won't know, obviously, from the video, but you recently entered your 60s, haven't you?
I have. I'm 62.
Thank you very much. So tell me about your career. What did you get involved in?
Well, I started off as a secretary, and I did a bit of modelling. Then I went into sales because it was the only thing you could do where you got a free car and you could earn lots of money when you were young. Right. So I went into sales and stayed in that for a long, long time. And then I thought, why am I always making money for other people? So then I thought I'd be someone's right-hand woman, someone... Richard Branson's right-hand woman kind of thing, and ended up really enjoying working for high-powered people. And then thought, actually, why didn't I work for myself? Because I quite like to be in control. So I had a kitchen business, I had a web design business, I had a film company for 15 years, and now I run an arts charity. So I've done lots of different stuff.
Yeah.
With different degrees of success.
Tell me about the film company. That sounds very, very interesting.
Well, I trained to be a script writer and thought that was... I was still running my kitchen company at the time, but I thought a change of scene, and trained as a scriptwriter and ended up getting into production. And I never worked in production, and suddenly I was doing 3 documentaries for BBC One for this company. Wow. And we were filming Christian Barnard, the heart surgeon in South Africa. And I suddenly realised I was responsible for absolutely everything. And it was just such a baptism of fire. I think I cried every night. So there was just nothing I wasn't responsible for. And I didn't know how to do the job. Right. So yes, so you sort of learn as you go. And then after doing that for a while, I formed my own film company, and we made some short films and we made a feature film. And I was very, I loved all of the glamour and, walking down the red carpet of Cannes. I can be very shallow, just in the long dresses, looking at all the cameras. I really enjoyed that. But the feature film we made it found an audience in the States, but we weren't able to sell it over here. And to be honest, I'd worked for 15 years trying to get to this place of influence in the industry, and I just didn't get there. Right. And at some point, I remember saying to a friend, "How do you know when to stop?" And they said, "When you don't want to do it anymore." And I just got to the point where I thought, actually, I've had enough. I'm going to go in a new direction.
Wow. And what was after that?
A period of depression, actually. Wow. It took a while to recover from the disappointment. Yeah. And then I went back into marketing, and I worked for a timber company who had 6 branches all over the southeast. And the MD realised I had a lot of skills to offer. So he just let me loose in the company, and I not only redesigned all their brochures, but I did the liveries of the vehicles, did all their showrooms, outside space. I had a whale of a time. Right. I really enjoyed that job.
Yeah.
And then we moved down to the New Forest.
Absolutely, yeah. And you've been in the New Forest how long now?
I was thinking about this the other day. 6 years, I can't believe it.
Wow.
Because we were in Surrey before.
Yeah. So what was the reason for moving to the New Forest? Was it retirement? Was it what was the purpose behind that?
It was sort of semi-retirement. My husband had retired a few years ago, and you have to time these things quite right, because you don't want to leave it too late and then you're not well enough, or you haven't got enough get up and go to make that huge life change. And my grandparents had lived in Highcliffe, so I'd spent a lot of holidays in the New Forest down here as a child, and I really loved the area. And I just thought, let's do it now while we're fit and able. And it was I've loved it from day one.
Brilliant. So tell me what obviously a big move, sell houses, etc. And of course, I know during that period of time, you were also dealing with your mum, who sadly passed away. A lot went on. So tell me about that kind of transition period.
Well, because we'd lived in our previous house for 30 odd years, I'd forgotten how stressful moving was. Yes. And I know it's up there, as one of the top 3, but I'd just forgotten how stressful it was. And I think it took us probably the best part of a year to get over the stress from such a big move. And, we had a lot of things to do in the house. So we had builders in constantly. But it was all worth it because, we love where we live. We love our house. And, it takes a while to build new friendships, especially as you're getting old. People that have lived in an area for a long time have got established friendships. So that takes a while. And I think it's often harder for men as well to make friendships. And then in the middle of all that, my mum got terminal cancer. So that was very difficult.
And was your mum, I can't remember, where was your mum living when that happened?
Maidenhead.
Right, okay. So
I lived on the motorway. Yeah. Luckily, my sister is in Maidenhead. And I was just up and down, once, twice a week, staying at her house. And yes, I just felt I knew every inch of the M3 and the M4.
I'm sure. And of course, that takes a lot of time up from your focus on the house to obviously focus on your mum. And so tell, how was that period? What was it like coming to terms with it, dealing with your mum's emotional state, I suppose, and then also the practicalities of the terminal illness for someone you care deeply about?
Yeah. Well, I think it was a bit of a shock because the diagnosis was terminal from the word go. Wow. So she had stage 4 stomach cancer. And so there was no coming back that she was going to get better. And luckily, my sister and I get on really well. We're quite close in age, 4 years apart. And when Mum went into Wexham Park Hospital, the care was mixed. Some staff were fantastic and really caring and very good at their job, and others were verging on negligent. And I think if my sister and I hadn't been there, actually she would have died in the hospital, because she needed people to speak up for her and to let them know what was going on, because she wasn't able to make herself clearly understood. So the time she was in hospital was dire. That was very, very unpleasant. And we managed to get her into a lovely hospice that she knew, because she'd visited a friend in near Hollyport. And of course, that is totally different. And she went from the hospital to a hospice, which was very nice. And then she went from a hospice to a care home, because she recovered so well in the hospice.
Wow.
She was still going to die, but she was so much better. She didn't need hospice care. So then she went into a care home. And the last two places she were very pleasant, and we knew she was being really cared for and she was happy there. So it was just, dealing with the emotional toll it takes on you when your last parent is dying.
Yeah. And how was negotiating the kind of care system? Suddenly, we're not generally, most people aren't experienced in, suddenly going, right, so what do we do next? She's been discharged from hospital, and then where do we go, and who can help, and how's it paid for, and all those types of things.
Actually, for us, we were very blessed that it was a quite an easy experience, because from the hospice, there was one. From the hospice, there was one care home she liked that, as I say, she'd visited someone in before, so we knew it, and it was near her home. And the week she needed to go in, unfortunately, someone died, so she was able to have their room. So we never looked at any other places. And because she was terminal from the word go, actually, we never had any fees to pay.
Wow.
So, that would have been an additional pressure on top of everything, paying a couple of £1,000, however, a week or a month. I don't know what care homes cost these days. So my sister and I never had to deal with that. So we were very, very blessed.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was going to say, I know for some people that becomes such a stressful thing, finding the money for care homes.
Yes, absolutely, and especially if there's one person still at home and one person needing care, and obviously couples are often the similar age, and this happens later on in life, and so if there aren't children around to help through that process, they are then reliant on the social care from the local authority. It is a complicated time for people, and very stressful. So it's great to hear that you had a great experience.
Yeah, no, we did.
Yeah, and so of course your mum did pass on. Obviously, she did die a little while later, and then how was then. Well, I know we've had a number of conversations over the last couple of years of dealing with the estate and a house and all those types of things. How's that been? Is a lot of people listening will be thinking that I might have to face this sometime.
Well, we were blessed with not having to pay for care homes, but the after effects, and my mum's estate was exceptionally complicated, and that's where, for me, the stress came in. My mum was quite well off, and because her parents had been well off, so she had tried to sort of leave a legacy for myself and my sister. But it seemed like every time new financial advisors had got involved with my mum, they just sold everything and then rebought more things. And I think part of it was to earn their commission. I'm not sure they always gave her the best advice. So her financial affairs were really complex. There was lots of shares, lots of bonds, paperwork all over the place. Probate took a long time to sort out because it was so complicated. And of course, stuff goes back years and years, and you're trying to find paperwork that's sometimes 30, 40, 50 years old. Yeah. So that part, when we came to the end of that, I was just thinking, I don't want a repeat of my mum's experience. I want my financial affairs in safe hands where I know what's happening. And that's one of the reasons I was so pleased when we met you, because I was just about to go with another company, and a well-known company who will be not named. And and I read some reviews that people had written, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute, this sounds a bit dodgy to me. They're very well known, but there was a lot of people making complaints about fees and the level of service. So I thought, hang on, let's just take a step back. And then we looked around, and then we found you, and I haven't regretted that at all.
Oh, that's nice to hear. So, obviously you've been in the New Forest a few years now. You've gone through that kind of passing of your mum and sorting all this stuff out. And I know there's still some things still need to be sorted for you, but you're probably a little bit freer now. And I know you've got quite a few new projects that you're getting involved in. Tell me more about that, or those, in fact.
Well, I think one of the things, because I was fortunate enough to have a parent who had money to leave, your future then becomes a bit more secure. So I felt she really left a legacy for me. And the day she died, I actually woke up with this idea that I would start a national art competition, as you do. And because she had left me that cushion, I was in a position to be able to do that. So I spent about 18 months talking to people, and because I think it's very important in your the latter half of your life that you focus your energies on things that you're passionate about, and it doesn't matter what they are, but it needs to come from a place of passion. And I'm passionate about my faith and about creating a platform for people to discuss spiritual things, and I'm really interested in art, so I combine those two together to set up something called the Chaya Art Awards. And so I was quite tentative, but because I'm the kind of person I am, I didn't start small. I thought, I'll just create the UK's biggest the biggest art competition exploring spirituality through the visual arts. And I've been very fortunate that it's been a real success. So we do it every 2 years, and artists from all over the country can enter at any level, whether they're a professional artist or just starting out. And then we have themes that are related around spirituality, and they can enter whatever their response is. So it doesn't have to be people who share my faith. It can be people of different faiths, people who don't have any faith at all. And then we choose from the however many hundreds we get in, about 40 to 60 pieces of artwork. And then we exhibit them in the Oxo Gallery, and we do an accompanying book, and the winner gets £10,000. And it's quite a big thing now. And it's a joy, an absolute joy. Stressful at times. I think, these things that are very rewarding in life often come with you having to put a lot of effort in. People just see the end reward, but they all take lots of effort. But I don't mind that. I'm a natural organizer, so.
Brilliant. And of course, the recent pandemic's had some kind of quite big implications on this for you as well, hasn't it? Have you dealt with the lockdown
Well, we worked for 18 months to prepare for the next one that's happening, and that was due to take place Easter this year at the Oxo Gallery. Wow. So, of course, that cancelled, and fortunately it cancelled at their behest, so I didn't lose my £10,000 to book it. Yeah. But they've postponed it for till Easter next year, so we're going ahead in 2021. And then I was thinking, well, what can I do now that this isn't happening. So I decided to put the previous exhibition online, and I commissioned a company in Germany to build software that replicated the Oxo Gallery. So that was up for 3 months, and that was called Where is God in Our 21st Century World?
Right.
And then I was thinking, well, what can I do for this year's artists who've got to wait a year? And one of them came back to me and said, why don't we do something on COVID called Impact? And it's all the effects that COVID has had on society, on healthcare, on families, on beliefs. So I invited about 100 artists to submit work, and 60 of them did. And they're the ones that are on display in this virtual Oxo gallery that you can walk around. And there's sculptures, paintings, glass, textiles, videos, and it's different artists' response to COVID. So I'm really excited that we've been able to do something positive. And the artists had to give a minimum of 30% to 2 charities that we felt were helping in COVID. And some of them are giving 100%.
Wow.
And we're not taking any commission for organising it or selling anything. So it's been really exciting to see people's response. And we've had, I think, about 2,500 people have visited the exhibition so far.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure we can get those numbers up. We'll put links to the exhibition in the show notes so that everyone can find out where they can.
Because it's free.
Brilliant. So what's next? We hope that you've got another 20, 30 years left on the planet, full of vitality. What's left for Katrina? What's next?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. I'm always open to new ideas. I realised during this pandemic, lots of people I knew were being very creative, and I'm a very creative person, and I wasn't being creative at all. And I was thinking, what's the matter with me? And I just think, you have to be realistic about where you are in life. And I just was finding it difficult not seeing people. And then over the last few weeks, I've started becoming creative again. And I just realized I like a project. I like to be organizing and planning and thinking ahead. So then I've just decided to run these meditation days around sculpture, which I'm looking forward to doing. But I'm just open to whatever ideas sort of pop into my thoughts, and then just some of them work out, some of them don't. But I'm relaxed. I haven't got a sort of, I know people have 5-10 year plans. I haven't at all. I'm just open to whatever comes my way, and I will just play my part in making those things happen. But I just like to live in the moment and live in the fullness of everything that life has to offer.
Yeah, wise words, definitely. Well, Katrina, it's been fascinating chatting to you this morning. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to have a chat. I do look forward to seeing you again live one day.
Yes.
We do seem to be doing a lot of Zooming, yourself and Phil. But yeah, so we'll put all the details in the show notes. Where can people find out more about you and the work that you do?
Well, the Chaya Art Awards is a charitable awards, and all of that can be found on the Chaya Arts website. And people often struggle, how do they spell Chaya? If you think of chai tea, right. CHAI, and then you add a YA on the end, so it's Chaya. And people often say to me, well, what does Chaya mean? And it means treasure in heaven.
Ah, lovely.
So it's the ChayaArtAwards.co.uk.
Wonderful. And your contact details are on there as well if they want to get in contact with you. Brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking your time out to chat to me and giving your wisdom to the audience of the Retirement Cafe. So once again, Katrina, thanks very much.
Thank you for asking me, Justin.
Thank you once again to Katrina for sharing her story. To find out more about the Chaya Art Awards, check out the show notes on our website at theretirementcafe.co.uk, where you'll find some useful links. I'm delighted to announce that I will be welcoming a very special guest to the 100th episode of the Retirement Cafe podcast on the 6th of October, the esteemed British economist and author Professor Andrew J. Scott. He's probably best known for his co-authored books, The 100-Year Life and more recently, The New Long Life. Professor Scott's recent academic work has been on longevity and focusing on the positive economic, social and personal effects that arise from the fact that on average, we're living longer and healthier. His associations with leading academic institutions is impressively long, including being a non-executive director for the FSA and an advisor to both the Bank of England and the Treasury. Be sure to subscribe on our website, theretirementcafe.co.uk, or on your preferred podcast player so you don't miss our conversation, which will be released on the 6th of October. Thank you, as always, to my financial planner, the Fixed Fee Retirement Planning Specialist, for sponsoring the podcast. You can find out more about how they can help bring clarity to your retirement at myfinancialplanner.co.uk. If you have any feedback for me or suggestions for podcast guests, people you'd like to hear from, please drop me an email at hello@theretirementcafe.co.uk. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode, you can write a review on Apple Podcasts. So until next time, this is Justin King helping you feel more informed in your retirement.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Cafe podcast with Justin King. To find out more, you can find us online at theretirementcafe.co.uk.